Those two different tendencies in yourself, are wishing to seek to go to another level, another critical understanding of the self. And this, in 3 to 4 years, we think, no matter which path that you follow with this, because there will not be a mistake, but we're saying that we think that you're going to come into having profound experiences of self-love. And this is what you're truly preparing for.
Right.
Yeah. Would you like a little sample of what that may feel like? We just say quickly is when we first started doing this, we refer to our man as Dale. When our young friend, he was very frightened by this. Because a lot of the magical black gurus of India discovered how to do this too. How to help people become very happy when people would gather around them. Okay? And what we want to say is that this is a little town. We show people what they could eventually develop.
Right.
Yeah. And so if you sit with both feet flat on the floor, we'll request where we can touch. So is it all right if I place one hand here on the back of the neck?
Yes.
And if you could take one of your hands and place it over the throat chakra. Yeah. And in fact, once you hold it out a couple inches, there we go. And then if you'll just take 2 or 3 of your calming breaths that you've learned. You can put your hands down. Now, would you agree that very quickly you went to a very quiet inward place? You see, in your meditation, that sometimes you'd have to struggle a bit to come to that place. And what we want to help you to do is to begin there more quickly. Would you like to? Let's see if you can do this on your own now. We're just going to step right here. We want to watch you very quickly go into, and truly you enter into the land of the where it's very quiet. It's not silent yet. So we'd like to watch you do that. We want to see what might be stopping you from entering that very quickly, if you don't mind. So if you want to do it, there you go. Okay, so we want to stop you. And so this is like a little meditation assistance, okay? Now, is the thing that you would like to do is breathe before you shut your eyes. Now, we want to give you one other hand and then just watch. Because it's like, what it does is there's two different, we want to say body, there's body and there's visual cues, okay? And for you, it's important that the body leads and the brain will then quietly begin to follow. And so what you would want to do is when you're setting is actually do 2 or 3 breaths. Allow your eyes to review any of the things, the last images or whatever it needs, and then let the breath guide when the eyes to shut, and then we think this will help you a lot much.
Okay.
Very good. We're going to stop you again. You see that that's very, very easy now, isn't it? Almost scarily easy. So we want to explain to you a little bit more. If you want to sit back and relax, we're going to talk. Yeah, well, you're welcome to that. However, is that chair comfortable for you? We can switch. Okay. So we want to help you understand that you are very visual. You see minute little things around you and in people. And although you've never really studied it, you've learned to read people's unconscious words. They're generally smaller than that. What this is that, see, for you, your eyes are actually processing the unconscious flavor of almost every interaction. It's different than most people, correct? Most people, okay. And what this requires then is a sort of a tensing of the buttocks and the lower part of the spine. I want to say this is the area where the pool of quiet silence exists. And see, you're actually walking around going, and you're noticing where people are really, the majority of their actions are coming from. The person has to guard themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Of whatever has been happening in the life. That's why we're requesting that you consider keeping the eyes open, okay? And then when you do your breathing, you actually breathe from right there, correct? You know, you don't breathe from the navel. It's actually, you breathe from there. You've trained yourself, you know? And so when that breath, if you do the breath first, then what it does is it takes the processing of the brain, particularly the visual and the connections into the brain stem. And what it does is it says, oh, now what we're going to look at is calm. Okay? And we think we'll let you try it again in a second. Now, we want to say that when you come back out, it's very important that you stop doing the breathing. Okay. And then let the eyes naturally open.
Okay.
Because what's starting to occur is you're starting to see an even deeper level of what people really are hungry for, what they need, and what they're requesting from you. And there still needs to be more stability in the self-love before you completely get how to process and replicate certain behaviors around certain people. Now we'll say that again, and then we'll come back to your little meditations. Is there are some people that you must replicate certain behaviors over and over and over. Like there are two people that you really love that you simply must, always say, I will not touch you until you calm down. So you don't get the jolt and relax. It's damaging to you at this point. It strengthened you for a while. You'd absorb it. Yeah. And then there's 3 or 4 people that you see fairly regularly that no matter what they are doing or saying, you simply would want to kiss them firmly on the temple or both cheeks. Mm-hmm. And then just let them babble. The half of them. The other half are kind of scattered. And you see, we're going to say, language is very complicated. We want to say a minor beginning of we're going to call it a Buddhist elderhood. If you can understand sort of a mixed metaphor there, mm-hmm. where it's simply blessing and loving and relaxing right. in the face of their venting right. or their habits of emoting. Mm-hmm. So what's still happening is some of what you pick up, you're trying to almost get away from it. You shut the eyes, and it's still processing, so it doesn't allow you to start at a deep enough level. So that's the simple language. You want to right. keep the eyes open, very relaxed, and then at some point, something inside you, like the consciousness falls here, and the eyes and this part of the brain will just follow. And it's actually, the Kundalini rising is an awkward sentence. It's actually relaxing into what is happening. There is no awakening. Right. There's just a deeper revelation of what's already there. Right. Then when you come up, then it's the opposite, or it's a little bit different, where again, you have that calm very strongly, and then what you do is stop breathing and allow the center of awareness to move back into the eyes, and the eyes open. And in fact, we want to play a little game for a second. Okay. Yeah. So this would be a fun little awareness game. And you can do this when you're out walking around or traveling or anything. Okay. And it would be that we're saying like this is a little measuring device, how much the eyes are open, how much they're closed. And then the larger ruler, like this is like a tiny little micro down here, is that when the eyes are in normal position of open, consciousness is in the mind. You're aware of down here, but it's the awareness. And then when you shut your eyes all the way, the awareness is here. Now, we're going to let you play with this in just a second, but this is something that you can actually do walking around. You are very aware of being able to do a meditation at the same time you're interacting with somebody. In fact, you're doing it right now. The little observer is listening and watching. Yeah, yeah. And then there's an additional level, or that level can start actually watching yourself as you travel around, and a certain little event occurs, and you go, oh, I think I'm going to drag that deep. How does that feel from there? Then it's almost replicating what you're doing in the meditation life. And then once it feels solid, what you're in processing and what you see out there, and if you're, then you can open the eyes up, and you're going to start feeling even more wickedly clever than you've ever felt in the past. And the difficulty with that is some people will actually, might be a little bit scared of you at first. Because when one is seen and felt, then it's a shock. Because most people are running up no dancing performances, you understand. Yeah. And that's what you're learning to do, is to see through even deeper levels of dramatic performances. And you get sufficient and clear and fast enough with that where you can come into the deeper loving of the self that you've been hungry for all of your life. And you did have to strengthen and carry, then strengthen the self and carry more, and then strengthen the self and carry just about all you want, and instead of dropping them, consciousness sinking it lower, and even more are going to come, if you understand. So do you want to play with the, allowing the, what we're saying is, if you would like this, you could connect up where your consciousness is viewing from with the eyelids and play with it as an experiment of your walking around in your life, where larger parts of yourself start processing this deeper fear-filled information of other people, so it doesn't affect you near as much. That's what we want. So do you want to play for a minute? Do you want a minute or so to play with that, and then we want to show you some of that? Good. So you understand, the more you do that meditation and then practice that walking around, it's going to build, not only is the second, the observer, we're calling it the observer layer, which is strong. It'll help that get stronger and even quieter. Again, language is difficult. Here's the normal consciousness. Here's what we call the observer self. And here's the little Buddha trying to get more. And it'll be much different and much more fun and much more painful than you think. Yeah, yeah. Because the little Buddha's laughing and crying at the same time, often at the same time. So you felt that. Again, this is an attempt to allow, we want to say, more of the self in your waking life to be processing what the eyes sense, see, and feel. And you're very proficient with it. This is kind of an additional self-training with it. It'd be very important when you visit which of these two teachers you want to hang out with. Like you could sit and watch one of them work or talk, and then shut the eyes, and then perceive it from here. Because it is the teacher that is comfortable with that deeper silence that you seek. Or it can only be one that is comfortable with it that can help you